So if you live in a car, or a van for that matter, should you live out in the wild, out in the countryside, somewhere remote and rugged and far from anywhere? Or should you live in a town or a city or a village with lots of people? So I'm a bit of a nature-loving introvert, if anything, and you might expect me to be wanting to be out in the wild, out in the middle of nowhere, as close to nature as possible and as far away from any kind of bustling, busy city as possible. But in fact, I spend 99.9% of my time in towns, not so much in cities, but in larger towns, such as in Falmouth, where I am now, or Ventnor on the Isle of Wight, which is my hometown. So I'm much more attached to town life than I am to the countryside. Not entirely sure why, but perhaps I can come up with a few reasons. So although I'm personally a bit of an introvert, I do prefer Ventnor on the Isle of Wight than here in Falmouth, in Cornwall. I think primarily because I know people in Ventnor, whereas here I'm a bit more anonymous. Although I love my own space, I also like talking to people that I know and being a familiar face and seeing familiar faces. I think I'd just it would get quite sort of lonely and melancholy if I was, say, up on Dartmoor on a day like this. That said, I've never really tried to spend an extended period of time out anywhere more remote than Ventnor Downs, say, which isn't remote at all, it's just above Ventnor. But I'm not drawn to those sorts of places. And to be honest, much of the sort of countryside in southern England at least is pretty bleak from a wildlife point of view, and that's what I really love. I love to be somewhere with a bit of wildlife. And we basically, it's a nice robin there. We've basically wrecked much of the countryside due to intensive farming, so you're more likely to see more wildlife in a place like this. This is Tremouth, an old area of parkland, now a university campus. Much more likely to see lots of wildlife here than if I went out onto farmland where most of the grassland's been chemically drenched in chemicals and there's just not much wildlife left. So I feel like I'm closer to nature in places like this than out in the actual countryside. I also suspect my preference for towns and villages and the sea especially is also partly down to being single. So if I had a partner and was living in a van, I'd probably be much more inclined to travel much further afield and get out a lot more. Because again, it can get quite lonely if you're kind of out in the countryside on your own. These lichens are superb. Don't know if it's in focus. I think it is actually. Absolutely stunning. So I'm not sure if I've got any other kind of people living in vans or living in cars subscribed to this channel who are watching this video, but if you do live in a car and a van, where do you normally park? Are you more out in the countryside or in towns and kind of cities like me? And are you drawn to the coast like I am? So I'm far more drawn to the coast than say to the uplands like Dartmoor or Exmoor here in the southwest. So I'm far more likely to be seen parked next to a beach. In fact, I'm parked next to the beach every night. So yeah, do let me know in the comments section if you do actually live in a car or a van and where you normally park. That'd be really interesting to see, and why you choose to park where you park. Are you a townie, or you want to be out in the wild? It's one of the great things about living in a home on wheels. You can actually choose where to be. So you can be fairly nomadic, and I'll do another video on the degree of kind of mobility that I've kind of adopted now I'm living in a car. I was living in a van, because I'm not as mobile as you might expect. Anyway, I hope you're all having a lovely afternoon. It's about 4 p.m. now, I think. Do subscribe to this channel, because I want to try and get up to 1,000 subscribers. We're on 871, I think, today. So we can get up to 1,000. It's mid-March. Might be able to get up to 1,000 by the end of April, perhaps, if we're really lucky. And do like the video. Read the description for this video below the video itself, because I have various links in there. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely afternoon, lovely weekend. It's Saturday as I record this, and I'll upload another video tomorrow.